Hi, this is Desmond Butts, and I'm going to tell you about a problem I ran into trying to make a small knife out of a piece of this half-inch drill rod. One of the things that I needed to do was to cut the angle of the knife edge in right about in here. Now I made this special knife, a little pocket one, has a little brass ball on the end. I'll show a picture of that later. But I needed a way to grind that in once I cut the drill rod off. I wanted to make sure I could cut a knife edge angle in on this round stock. Doing it by hand on a bench grinder just wasn't going to do it. I needed something that was going to be consistent, that was going to be able to cut this. So what I did is I actually put one of the extra bench grinding wheels on some drill stock and mounted it to the lathe, and then used the cross slide to run it back and forth along that to get my edge to start the knife angle so I could use it. That way it was nice and consistent, got a good edge on to start with, and then we're going to polish that up later. So let me show you how I did this. So right here you can see my mini lathe. Turn on the light here. And I actually got done tooling the end of it already, but I'm going to put the other attachment on. This little ball turner that I have for it, and I did the little small palm handle out of that ball turner out of some 3/4 inch brass. You can still see the brass shavings there. I'm actually leaving these shavings and things for another project that's going to be a machinist hammer, and I'm going to actually use some of these shavings in the handle. I'm going to put a piece of rod in, and I'm going to put it in some polymer resin with an aluminum shaft on it and cure it up, and then I'm going to turn that later. So you might see that on a later video where you'll see what I do with some of these shavings in that. And it should be kind of fun if it works out. So I'll switch this out for the grinder and show you how I ground the angle in on that knife. Alright, so here we go. I had an extra one of these because on my grinder I have the regular stone here, and then I put a wire brush on this side, and I had this extra grinding wheel. So I took a piece of all thread, 1/2 inch, that fit the hole. Put a big washer on this side, stainless steel with a nut, and stainless steel with it on that back side. And I made it long on purpose because I didn't know how much or how big of a knife I would have. That way it could fit in the lathe, and I could adjust the depth just by running it out a little bit. So this won't run perfectly true, and I was worried about that at first, but it seems to do a good job anyway. It's just because it's not perfectly balanced, but it ends up it works itself out and gives a pretty decent edge to start with, especially because the cross slide here is holding the work perfectly, and it just keeps passing across this way where this doesn't have to move. And it's nice because the round head that I'm using on the round stock is right here. The knife is sticking out of that on the blade section. I don't have to worry about another type of system where that round head's going to get in the way to get the angle correct. Okay, a couple of things need to be done. One, I need to find out how long the knife blade is, because if I have this up too far, the knife blade can run into this, into where the motor housing is. So in this case I had it out about that far. Now I'll go ahead and chuck it and then check it. Now it doesn't run really perfectly true because this isn't perfectly balanced, so you got a little bit of harmonic in it. I live by a airport, so I'm letting the plane go by. So this won't run perfectly true, and I was worried about that at first, but it seems to do a good job anyway. It's just because it's not perfectly balanced, but it ends up it works itself out and gives a pretty decent edge to start with, especially because the cross slide here is holding the work perfectly, and it just keeps passing across this way where this doesn't have to move. And it's nice because the round head that I'm using on the round stock is right here. The knife is sticking out of that on the blade section. I don't have to worry about another type of system where that round head's going to get in the way to get the angle correct. Here's our grinder. It's about like that, so we got plenty of clearance on this side. And it is a 1/2 inch hole. It's a 6-inch wheel. I don't know if you can see that very well or not, but it's a 6-inch disc. as I was saying before, when I started up, it's not perfectly balanced, so it's got a little wobble in it, but it seems to work fine. One of the problems I have is if I take this slide and I'm all the way out this direction, it's still going to hit this. You can see that. Okay, so what I did, because I can't mount the work on this side or this side, I loosen this nut, turn this around so that this quick release holder on this side is actually on this side, and then it gives me clearance on the grinding wheel. And then I move it back and forth like this, you know, obviously using this handle to get the cuts in like this so I can get my edge angle on the knife that I'm making. And I use this for the round stock I'm using in specific. We're in quite the storm here while I'm making this video. You can see the rain in Texas pouring off the roof, tropical storm coming in. But hey, what do you do in a storm when you're not working? You come down here and you make something on the lathe. We got our can full of odds and ends. We can pull it out and have fun. Aha, what do we got in here? Wow! Almost got struck by lightning on that one. Alright, so here is a actual drill bit in the tool holder. There's just enough bite to get the set screws down to hold it. Give you a back end angle shot like that. Might help a little bit. And when I tighten it down, the handle's out of the way. Then I might come, say, over into this area right here and bring this into contact where I want it with the head of the stone. And then when I'm ready, I will set this right here. Actually, what I usually do is I might pull this up a little bit and then get this set back, because I like to use the small adjustment. It's about in here. Bring this back. Come in here, that way I can see my scale here, and I can come in just incrementally, step by step, to get that to start the grind. And then I'll stop about right in here. Okay, now I'm not going to actually cut this because obviously it's a drill bit, but I had a piece of that drill stock and it was about that long, and I kept on making my passes and it worked fine. It didn't get any chatter or anything. It worked out okay. If you had a really long blade, you'd probably want to find something else, but on like a 2 3/4 inch blade like I had out of this stiff drill rod, this setup worked really good. What I did is I used this adjustment because it makes a hollow grind, because this has, you know, a round curve to it. So I cut one side, then I flipped it, and if you're looking at the edge of the knife, on one of them it was cutting like this down the edge. When I flipped it around, it was cutting from the thick or bridge side of the knife, and the edge was at the bottom. So I adjusted the height so the hollow ground was about equal on both sides. And it took a little bit of practice, no science behind it. I didn't use anything to get the angle. I just looked at what I wanted, and I wanted the taper to be even on both sides, and I just kept on playing with it a little bit till I got the taper and the desired effect I wanted. The biggest thing about this that it did for me is as it came forward like this, it gave me a very perfect angle cut all the way across grind on that knife edge that I just wasn't able to do by hand, especially when I had this round piece over here, because when I was trying to do it on the grinder, on the bench grinder, this would get in the way moving this direction, or the round stock was over here. I didn't want to have that sharp edge cutting my hand or something when this is spinning, getting caught. It just wasn't working very well. I also tried it over on this a little bit to do it on a belt sander, and the round piece got here, and so the edge got a taper in it like this, going this direction. I just couldn't get consistency. Coming back over to the lathe, this gave me very good consistency, nice uniform cut. I'm going to actually turn this on. I'm going to back it off. It's going to do a pass without cutting, but I just want you to show you, this does have a wobble in it. There you go. We have a thunderstorm going on in the background. I hope you like the background effects because they are actually live. You can see the little wobble going on here in the stone. It's not terrible, but it still works. And when I got everything set, I just power fed it, and there it goes. And it gave a very nice, consistent cut, just like that, all the way across. Worked very well. I do have some pictures of the knife, and I will be showing you those pictures. So anyway, I think you kind of get the idea on how this works and how I did it. And all I did was undid these two screws, took this and just gave it a little turn or a little turn back just to get the angle that I wanted. I would take it back to see where my angle was, and how I did this is I'd pull it back, undo the quick release, and just kind of took a look at the back side. I know there's no angle, but then I could see my angle, and I said, yep, I like that. Go ahead, reset it. It kept it right in perfect position, and then I would give it a little adjustment and keep cutting it in till where I wanted to stop. Flipped it over, just loosened these, turned it to the back side, and did the same thing on the other side. Once again, using the lift here angles, because when you're cutting one way, the center of this and the ground, the hollow ground side of it on the round portion is in a different position than when it's cutting the back side the other way. So I had to adjust that to get those grinds how I wanted them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you like this setup. I'm going to be doing a really cool machinist hammer that I'm going to use some resin to build the handle on it with a bunch of stuff in it. So, and I'm going to turn the resin on this along with the shaft. Should be pretty cool. So look for that coming up in the next week or so. Remember, give me a like if you like it, subscribe, and share with others. This is Desmond Butts. I appreciate you watching.